on UN 2030 Sustainable Development Goals and China's experience in poverty reduction. I'm Tian Wei in Beijing. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals aspire to eradicate poverty for all and bring peace and prosperity. With less than 10 years to go, how are countries doing? And what will be the role of the United Nations? Michael Kremer, American development economist and Nobel laureate. Good to see you, Professor. Jeffrey Sachs, University Professor at Columbia University, Director of the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network. Good to see you, Professor.
Thank you.
Vladimir Yakonim, co-founder and chairman of the Supervisory Board at the Dialogue of Civilizations Research Institute. Good to see you, Mr. Yakonim.
Thank you, Shane.
Last but certainly not least, from Italy, Mika Geraci, former Undersecretary of State at the Italian Ministry of Economic Development. Professor, good to see you. May I ask, Professor Geraci, you're based in Italy. I'm sure you have your different observations.
Indeed, I should tell you that in the previous government, we did flirt with the idea of universal basic income in Italy. We tried to introduce it. It was a mixed success. I'm very honest about it, for two reasons. One was to reintroduce young people into the workforce, but a large part of it was actually aimed at poverty alleviation in Italy, where about 10% of the population, according to some official statistics, live below the poverty line. So we are looking at a G7 country that maybe for reasons that other people in the panel are more expert than I to understand, maybe globalization, surely bad management on the side of government, have led to a very wide disparity and not a relative, but an absolute decline in the standard of living. In my analysis suggests that 70% of Italians are worse off now than they were 30 years ago. And this has given us, let's say, the initial framework to start to implement that universal basic income. But this is not just about Italy. We know that the European Union and the rest of other European countries will suffer between -5, -10, -13% drop this year. So that will not only bring the overall level down, but will increase this disparity, because within that -13 that Italy will probably do, and the rest of Europe will look at -8, -9, there will be some industries and some people that will do a small plus, and some will do -20, -30. So we are really facing with a major challenges for which, I have to say, having worked in government, we are not really equipped. And this is why I'm trying, my next task is to bring research, academia, back at the table of the Prime Minister's office, because we need to know, we need to understand the latest on research, we need to understand what policy can be implemented, because politicians look at elections, while academics have, of course, a more long-term view. And I want to bridge those two worlds, the short-term and long-term view, to try to find solutions that are really needed now. Not just in developing countries, but really even in Europe.
Good question, please.
Thank you. My name is Zhang Huidong. I come from International Poverty Reduction Center in China. My question is how to enhance the poor households' productivity to let them participate in the economic growth progress and finally get out of poverty trap.
On that, may I have Professor Geraci possibly to share something with us?
I think the role of the government and the institution, I think, is very strong in getting the whole family, household, and even the local community involved. And from my experience in looking at the examples of China and other parts of the world is that the success of China has also been based on the things that we were talking about before, but also on the strong presence of the government. You know, in the economic field, we try to find maybe now a new line between the state and the market, given the success and failures of certain economic models. And I think the same question needs to be addressed in the case of poverty alleviation. Where is the line between the role of the government and the private? So we do have NGOs around the world. We do not have so many in China. And the reason is because in order to, like you asked in a way, how do we involve everyone? How do we involve at the local level? The effort must be evenly spread. And that's why a centralized approach may target where it's mostly needed without creating imbalances that I've witnessed. I've seen, for example, some areas develop faster than others, some villages more advanced than others. And these sometimes does create what we call it, the neighbor's income, a little bit of a competition that sometimes is good, but sometimes it creates a sense of not belonging. And that's why an overall umbrella blanket approach may limit this disparity, because we also have to worry about the disparity in bringing some cohorts out, or some families, some villages out of poverty while leaving some others behind. And this is a little bit the risk I've seen in countries outside of China, because China has been successful in its own country, and of course it's relatively easy, although it's been a massive result.
I see.
But when we try to export this model in other countries, we have to deal with 50 countries in Europe, maybe the ambassador from Rwanda can chip in. It's very difficult because maybe we do have misalignment of interest, institutional difficulties, and like Professor Sachs, Jeffrey was saying before, some rich people, even in local communities, may not have in their own interest to develop the rest of the country. So we need to face the reality, and this is really the practical aspect of it.